to open up the afternoon session, okay, we have a very, very interesting topic. The topic is about online assessment, okay, and it's delivered by Omar Ritz, who is the CTO of GamaLearn. Right. So if I look at his profile, right, he is actually very, very active, right, in the region and in the UAE, right, and he has actually quite a lot of experience working with course students in the region, right. So without taking away much of his time, okay, Omar, why don't you take over the session? Right, Omar, I think you're muted.
Yes,
Okay,
can
good.
you hear me now? Absolutely great. Thank you so much, Vincent, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope you've had a great day so far and an even greater afternoon session. My name is Omar Risk. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at GamaLearn, and today we'll be talking about a very interesting topic, which is the online assessment and how do institutions in higher education deal with remote assessments with all of the challenges that it presumed after COVID had happened in 2020. How do we deal with remote assessment integrity, security, and contingency planning? For that, allow me to share my slides. I assume the slides are now showing. So before we start the session today, the session format is about 45 minutes, 30 minutes of which will be for actual discussion on the topic, a breakdown of the things that we want to highlight today for the esteemed audience joining us from the different universities, and 15 minutes of which are going to be Q&A, dedicated for answering all of your questions, your inquiries, which you can put on the Q&A section of the actual live meeting on Teams, as well as the moderation that will be happening with my colleague here to actually answer all of your questions while the 30 minutes of explanation is ongoing, and for sure in the 15 minutes that will follow. For that, we want to make sure that everyone attending today would make sure to fill up his attendance using the form URL that was already posted on the chat. And make sure to, when you have any questions on the Q&A panel, mention your name so that we can dedicate the answer and we know who's asking the question, so we can make sure to address you with your answer specific to your question. All of the questions will be available and published on the Q&A panel, so make sure to check out there while the session is ongoing. Should you have a question that is similar to yours, you may already have an answer. Now, without further ado, let me kick off the session by introducing a little bit about my company, GamaLearn. So GamaLearn is a strategic global education partner for Microsoft. And GamaLearn has been in the business in the past almost 32 years. GamaLearn looks after the education and training sectors, both from K-12, higher ed, corporate learning and training, and more. And we are powered by subject matter experts who are really deep knowledge in accreditation, compliance, security, assessments, training, and more. And with those SMEs, we're driving niche solutions to the sectors that we're working with to make sure we empower them on their digital transformation journeys, to make sure that we provide the best service and consultancy on what solutions to adopt and what technologies from GamaLearn can make a difference to your unique workloads, your unique challenges, and your unique journey. And from that, we operate on all kinds of edges, from mobility to cloud to IoT to productivity suites and more. As well, we're talking today about higher education. We'll be focusing more on the higher education sector and what we have in store for them to work with the current challenges of online, digital, and remote assessments. So what is SwiftAssess? SwiftAssess, in a nutshell, is a dedicated outcome-based assessment management platform. Now, we all know that every higher education institution has a basic ecosystem of at least two different systems, which are the learning management system and the student information system. But when COVID hit the world, it was very, very visible to these institutions and the decision makers in them that these solutions were not enough. They needed another catalyst that is geared towards handling everything related to digital exams, from authoring it, to delivering it, to tracking it, and making sure it pertains to all higher education expectations from benchmark and quality and more. And SwiftAssess is designed to answer to those workloads specifically. When we're looking at higher education, SwiftAssess looks at it in 5 different ways. And every higher education establishment, whether you're doing undergrad, you're doing postgrad, you're definitely looking at accreditation compliance for your academic programs locally, internationally. You're looking at admission testing, which will happen either physically on campus or remote. You're looking at staff professional development and how to make sure your staff are brought to speed on everything from productivity and online tools to make sure they're making the best out of their job and workloads. Of course, distance and blended learning. And a lot of this is happening nowadays, and we'll be focusing the discussion today on how distance learning and remote assessment work hand in hand to achieve this. And of course, course evaluations. Today, we're delivering a myriad of academic programs. It could be from the simple linguistics to the advanced engineering and aerospace, to medical, to legal, and more. And we want to make sure that you have all the right tools in place to empower you with it. Today, we'll be focusing on the security and remote aspect of it, but for sure you can expand further by visiting the links that we'll be providing towards the end of the presentation to learn more about how we can solve other challenges besides the one we're talking about today. So number one here is when we're looking at remote assessments, number one issue and number one challenge that faced every institution is how do we make sure our assessments are delivered with security and integrity? And when it's higher education, it's actually more challenging than K-12, because when we're delivering any assessment across any courses, we have to actually make sure that the results are defensible, they are feasible, and they are benchmarked against the quality and accreditation requirements for that college, for that program. And so it's not just about the security of the test, but it's the type of the question and the environment that the student is taking the questions in and how those exams are linked to my quality benchmarks. So we'll start by remote assessment integrity by utilizing proctoring and artificial intelligence proctoring. Even before COVID hit the world, GamaLearn has already planned and developed a solution for continuous integrity for exams that are taking place remotely and online. Today, when we're delivering exams online to all of our students, we're automatically pairing it with an AI proctoring capability that takes away all of the needed challenge and the human manual intervention to monitor and make sure to flag any violation taking place in any administered session. So we talked to a lot of institutions since the beginning of 2020, most of which have been trying to use things like Teams and other ways to screen share and show the camera for the student and have 20 to 30 students on one session and monitor that by one admin, which is not really efficient and has proved to be very, very complicated and doesn't produce the right dependable results. Artificial intelligence has paved the way to solve that problem with ease. With our AI solution, 100% of your sessions are monitored by AI. You have no dependency on any external proctor or reviewer. The sessions start by a face and identity verification to make sure that the student logging in and sitting for the test is the same student who's supposed to be taking this test. And then moving forward to capturing his microphone, his camera, and his screen, and highlighting any violation throughout the entirety of that exam session. Whether you're doing a 30-minute session, 60, 120, and more. All of the violations that you can think of, from wrong gazing to speaking out loud, to trying to use a different monitor, to having someone else replace you, to using invalid hardware like a mobile phone or a headset, and all of that is given to you in a full forensic analysis report available for your college reviewers and proctors to make the final decision on the archives that are produced. And because we know you don't have that much time to spend just watching every single video, we already developed a very intelligent mechanism of highlighting a scoring system for these video archives, which goes from green to orange to red, highlighting the most potential sessions with real recurring violations that needs your attention. Not only that, but you're actually going to only watch where the sessions have taken place, where those issues have actually been highlighted by the AI. And then you can take it further by having a meeting with the student, interrogating, doing whatever needed precautions to be taking place. With that in mind, we're supporting all of your students from their own home, using their own internet, using their own device to take the test. This does not require any kind of special hardware or special software. It works directly from the browser and actually works with other additional security options that pairs really well with proctoring. So as long as we're talking about security and devices, students at home are actually using their own device. So we're not really attending on campus, so we're not using their computer labs that are provided by the university. And so what we want to make sure is every student, no matter what device they're using, they meet three things. Number one, it's fully secure, which means this exam is not in any way, shape, or form is able to be compromised. You cannot screen share, screen record, search the internet and support the answers. So we provide a full lockdown capability, whether you're using a Mac, Windows, a Chromebook, a tablet, which is an iOS or an Android, all of which are completely covered. And you can also apply AI proctoring in addition to the secure browser on the same device, which means the student not only will be locked in the exam, but they will be also monitored by the AI proctor through the entirety of the test. And that gives you the ultimate capability of working with your students' capability. If they cannot afford to have a high-end device, it's okay. He uses his normal microphone, his normal camera, his normal internet and broadband in the house, and off he goes. Other security options are not just related to lockdown browsers or AI proctoring sessions or device compatibility, but it also works with what assessment schemes can you provide to your administered test. Now think about this. When at the beginning of the COVID and even before, institutions have opted in for using some very basic forms of online exams that are maybe like using a survey system or maybe an MCQ open-ended form, which has no control over things like shuffling, timers, specific navigation control, alternative types of questions, randomization of the questions, so you cannot really assign version A, version B, version C. And those of which are using learning management systems and are using the built-in quizzing capability are missing out on some very key aspects of alternative assessment delivery schemes. In SwiftAssess, our mission is to be most comprehensive in the form of delivering standardized, high-stake, and wide-scale assessments. For that, we're giving you multiple different solutions, from fixed exams to having sets of questions that are already pre-selected and shuffled, to random assessments, where you're building a blueprint built on already acquired and approved and published questions by your course coordinators, your exam committees, and your steering committees in each and every college. And each and every student will get a unique dynamic version of that test, eliminating the possibility of cheating, because with all the security options, not one student is getting the similar questions like the other. So even things like utilizing or trying to guess or trying to share ABC is not in there anymore. And in SwiftAssess, we have more than 32 plus question types and modes. So you're not just stuck to one type of question and going back to basic way of evaluating schemes. And with that, we're giving you multiple different things, from timers per questions to timer per test to navigation control. One of our biggest customers in the UAE is the Ministry of Education. And the Ministry of Education, when they went online, they had to make sure that all universities under the ministry and all schools under the ministry are abiding by a very complex platform for building a blueprint that is hard to cheat on. And they utilize a combination of things like navigation control, so students are only moving forward, they cannot move backward. They're limited by a specific timer per question and a number of attempts per answer. You can also things like shuffling the items inside the question and removing the labels. A bunch of these combinations with proctoring and security and lockdown gives you the ultimate solution control for your remote assessments. Now, of course, because we're spending time at home and we're not really working on campus, relying on on-premise resources and coming to on-prem to perform things like manual grading, e-marking, or marking has been quite a tedious process. And for those of you who are using an online mechanism to deliver manual grading, well, at the end of the day, you need a solution to aggregate all of this and consolidate it in a digital medium that is completely mobile and completely offline. And SwiftAssess delivers just that. So using SwiftAssess GradeMate, which is a full-fledged e-marking solution for your faculty members to deliver end-to-end grading capability on the faculty device. So instead of the faculty connected to the internet 24/7 to perform, let's say, hundreds of submission gradings, you don't have to do that at all. SwiftAssess enables you to actually download all of your submissions, making sure that you can easily navigate through all of them, perform things like plagiarism checking using Turnitin, performing semi-automation of grading by looking for keywords, timers, number of characters, specific length of submissions, similar keywords between two students or submissions, applying things like rubrics, analytical marking, and feedback. Not only are you getting the best of both worlds for digital and online, but you're also getting a fully rich feedback to your students. Remember, in higher education, it's all about feedback. So assessments is not just about pass and fail. It's about the loop being closed for your students and understanding where they performed well or they underperformed, so they can perform better on your next assessment. And of course, this solution is completely available to you on multiple different platforms: Windows 10, iOS, soon going to be on Mac as well. A lot of the institutions we're talking to today who are doing or planning to conduct online exams are concerned about operations. How can we monitor those students? How are we able to tell if people are attending, if people are participating, if people are actually submitting? How can we make sure we have some sort of operational hands-on? And that's just one of multiple different analytical and dashboarding capability in SwiftAssess. So from real-time dashboards to monitor all of your students across multiple exams, across multiple campuses, to actually reporting on a student level, exam level, item level, academic program level, and more. As we said in the beginning, SwiftAssess is an outcome-based assessment. And one of the major points for any faculty member in any college is quality. And understanding the quality requirements of any university is a complex thing. And we've done the homework to bring you a set of reports that automates the full requirement for academic achievement reports for your quality requirements. So you don't have to attend on campus anymore to prepare different Excel sheets and different portfolios to deliver to the auditors visiting from the local accreditation committees. Alternatively, you're able to deliver a full one-click portal for them to look into your academic program achievement, your PLOs, your CLOs, all of the sample answer sheets, all of the sample question sheets, all of these different workloads that a faculty member would have to bear each and every semester is now fully automated, fully digital, and don't have to do anything with him preparing anything manually. So we arm you with a suite of tools to really finish your job and excel at it beyond and above. One very important key here is accessibility. Your students vary in their needs. And today we're having a very diverse audience when it comes to our students with special needs, special education needs, accessibility issues, from devices and languages to actual disabilities. And SwiftAssess cares about these students to make sure they get a fair and advantageous opportunity at taking that exam. So when students are actually taking SwiftAssess exams, we already know if they have any kind of disability by profiling them correctly in SwiftAssess, and we give you full-fledged tools to leverage this while you're authoring your exams, while you're actually assigning students to the test, and when students are actually taking the test. For students that are hard of seeing, hard of hearing, with learning disabilities and motor disabilities and more, we've designed so many WCAG, AA, and AAA standardized accessibility solutions to give you things like color contrasting, magnification, speaking out loud, transcripts, keyboard shortcuts, and more. Not just that, but your faculty members are actually building items in the test with an actual accessibility benchmarking. So you can know if this item will be accessible later on for students with these specific disabilities. So when your students are now remote and they don't have anyone to assist them on campus, they can still feel empowered to be able to take the same test while remote from home and knowing the system will be giving them a fair position and a fair advantage. Of course, the elephant in the room, which is how does SwiftAssess work with my existing tools and platforms? SwiftAssess is built to coexist. It works by automatic interoperability with your ecosystem. So today, you have your learning management system, whether it's using Moodle, whether you're using Blackboard, or you're using maybe even a custom learning management system, or a student information system and others. We have built-in connectors that are standard, whether you're doing an LTI for having SwiftAssess exams be a part of your learning course workspace in your learning management system, whether you're importing and exporting data between SwiftAssess and your student information system for roster and enrollment, registration, for student gradebook and raw data exporting, for transcript and certification generation, and more. SwiftAssess actually is standard compliant. So we're trying to make sure we're standard across the board to facilitate for whatever tool you procure, to make sure you have a standardized access. And for those of you with a good technical background, we also provide a full suite of APIs to enable you and your technical team to do full custom integration with SwiftAssess. Should you have a home-built or an in-house developed tool that needs to be custom connected to SwiftAssess, you can leverage the APIs to do so. And we really invested in working with institutions on what they have utilized and adopted in their online journey since 2020. We all know Teams, we all love Teams. In fact, we are currently using Teams, and SwiftAssess has been one to get to the front of the race by creating an integration with Microsoft Teams. With this integration, which you can find now available under Teams Education Store for SwiftAssess, you're able to bring assessments from SwiftAssess to your team channels and groups under Microsoft Teams. So instead of your students leaving Teams to log into an external system and taking the exam, which is totally fine, you can still do that from within your team channels under Microsoft Teams by creating exams, pinning them, having students who are actually assigned single sign-on using their Microsoft Office 365 and Teams login, and automatically taking the test from there. SwiftAssess takes care of all the validation with Teams, so you don't have to worry about things like if this student is even assigned, if this student is already authorized to take the test, if this student has already finished the test. All of these operational hassles are taken care of. Not only that, but your teachers and your faculty members can also log into the same app and perform grading on Teams and perform reporting and monitoring on Teams for that specific exam. By the way, this same integration is inspired in learning management systems. So if you have a learning management system like Moodle or Blackboard, the LTI integration provides a very similar capability. And with this, you're actually able to pull the grades from SwiftAssess automatically into your gradebook and your learning management system once the student is done with the test. Even if this test includes some manually graded questions, the moment the results are published, is automatically synced back to your gradebook. So you have a full autonomous platform. Of course, we love Malaysia and we love the audience that we're talking to, and it's been a great pleasure working with Malaysian institutions for the past 2 years. We've had the pleasure of having a very successful pilot with Malaysian Examination Syndicate, a very successful pilot with Taylor's University, and more. And because we're working with local partners, training is always something that we always come across. And because of the situation with the MCO, and that people are not really preferring to have an actual face-to-face training, we already availed our GamaLearn Academy since 2019 for all institutions to take on a fully virtualized version of the training, offering you full versatile digital versions of the courses that we train face-to-face, but actually deliver it completely autonomously. And you can take it as many times as you want. It's available to you for web and mobile. You can take it in multiple languages depending on your preference. You actually have full content all the way to modular exams and certification. So you can actually showcase your expertise and earn a badge for actually learning the certain skills that are required to make sure you knew how to use SwiftAssess and all related roles. Whether you're a faculty member, whether you're an operational, a field engineer, whether you're a head of department, there are separate tracks for each and every course. It helps you fully utilize the platform to your own role. There are lots of case studies that we've had the pleasure of having since 2020 and even before. But for people who are interested to know how certain universities adopted SwiftAssess and the online remote assessment solutions to leverage for their own exams, there are plenty of this online, and we're going to be sharing shortly the links for you to go and learn more about them and even inquire directly with our team to provide the best of service. For more information, make sure to visit swiftassess.com. And we shared here 3 main links, of course, across many other links on the website. If you're interested to learn more about how SwiftAssess works for higher education, if you want to learn more about the case studies related to the products in those specific sectors, what other features do we offer besides what we talked about today? And of course, if you're interested to get a code for your own institution, we're happy to. One thing we're going to do right now is we're going to share with you a link, and this is a great offer that we're offering today. It's a questionnaire for your institution to understand really your digital transformation from on-campus to online, or your current online transformation from traditional ways of doing exams to the fully online secure. And this questionnaire takes a couple of minutes. Once you fill it, a specialist from GamaLearn will be in touch with you to discuss with you more on what solutions can fit you best, what services from GamaLearn can we leverage, and what kind of time interval we're working with to make sure we meet you on your objectives. With that, I sum up the part for the 30-minute slot that I had. Maybe I've exceeded a little bit, but now I'm happy to take more and more questions on the panel. Thank you. We have 15 minutes. Please make sure to post your questions to the Q&A panel, and we'll be answering you there. So we have a question here from Alan, which is, is it possible to only use certain functions of SwiftAssess without signing up for the entire platform? Absolutely. So in SwiftAssess, we offer multiple different plans with multiple capabilities and optional add-ons should you want it or not. And make sure to check out our plans and prices and our capabilities in each and every plan to see what's better fit for you, and we'll make sure to get you the right code for that specific service. My colleague Thoraya has already answered some of the questions on the published panel. For the sake of not being redundant, I will leave those to be displayed there. And if there is anything else, please make sure to post them to the panel so we can get to answer them and share it with the audience. I have a comment here about the screen being not too big or too clear. I apologize for that. We're working with a specific template for the presentation. I'll make sure to please sign up to the questionnaire and make sure to fill in the attendance form. We'll be in touch with you and we'll be providing a copy of those slides should you require to have more information on it after the session, so that we can reach out to you.
Omar, we do have a little bit of time. Do you happen to have a simple demo so we can visualize what the product looks like?
Absolutely. I mean, we can continue getting the questions on the panel. My colleague will be answering them. I'm happy to share that. Let me just set up something real quick. So a question that we always come across is, how does the AI work for our students? How does it actually provide a full experience for not just the student, but also the proctor and the reviewer? So I'm sharing you here an example of a test on an AI proctoring environment. And as you can see, from a proctor point of view or a reviewer point of view, you're able to see student camera environment right here on the left, while you're seeing his actual screen on the right. Now, this exam was not set as a secure browser, so the student is able to alternate between tabs. But again, you're able to set and customize this per test. So you can say this test is allow secure, which means the student cannot navigate anywhere and it will be locked down. You can also set it to be not secure, but block students from moving between navigation tabs. So the moment the student moves away from the frame, that will be accessed as a violation. And here, if I just play this, it's a 26-minute video, but you don't have to watch the entirety of that session. You can just jump to the sections that had some issues with it. Forbidden hardware, wrong gaze direction, microphone voice detected, phone, and more. And you can see on the right here an actual breakdown of these specific violations. First of all, the student was actually showing his face. He shows his ID, which is a requirement you can set per test. The student was smoking at some point, so that was an example. The student was looking in the wrong direction, wrong direction, wrong direction, and then the student had disconnected and used the phone, so we blocked the screen when that happened. All of which are events that you can jump to and watch while the video is taking place to highlight. And sharing with proctors can actually provide full feedback, and that will automatically be flagged whether it's an acceptable session, it's a failed session, or it's a suspended session until a decision is to be made by the legal part of the council. So that's one of the examples here, and the student is actually able to understand if the violation is taking place because we're continuously showing on screen if there are any alerts to help the student avoid making even more mistakes. Most of the violations are shown to the student, such as moving away from the screen, someone else is in your place, you're trying to speak out loud if you have a background noise. So we're alerting you to make sure you don't do even more troubles in terms of violations. So you have a less of an issue with your session. And as you can see here, the threshold, which is acceptable for the cheating in this exam, is 80. So anything above 80 is definitely a suspicious session. He crossed it by 3. So this was orange to red to green. So this is one example of this. Allow me to also share with you an example of how the actual exam looks like. We have a question here. We will work with SwiftAssess to secure and proctor only with exam done in LMS. So you can definitely do that. If you want to use SwiftAssess with a secure browser capability, but you want to do it in your LMS environment by hosting the assessment over there, you can do that. We provide the LTI integration for you to perform the test inside your learning management system. I'll be sharing now a screen to show you an example of how the question bank looks like, some interesting facts about how the assessment works, and take even more questions as we have still about 15 or 10 minutes. Vincent, how much time do we have left?
You have about 5 minutes here.
5 minutes. Well, let's get that done. I believe the session actually would take more time to deliver a demo for this. So I have a suggestion, not just to overrun the slot of time. We're happy to showcase demos for any interested institution after the session by reaching out to us. Make sure to fill out the questionnaire, make sure to fill out the attendance so that we can reach out, check if you have a demo requirement, if you have an interview requirement, if you have any inquiries about certain features that works with your unique requirements, we'll be happy to help. Make sure we have enough time to support more questions from the audience.
I see someone has joined us already on my screen. I'm not sure whether the audience sees him, right? So yeah, any last questions for Omar? Or if you need a demo, please either put it on the chat or
Absolutely.
or fill up the questionnaire, right? That they have posted on the chat.
Sure thing. So we have we already submitted again the links on the Q&A. Again, from Maywan, you have the forum for the attendance, and from Thoraya, you have the actual questionnaire. Just I'll repost it again because there was a typo in that link. That's the one.
Maywan, are we having a lucky draw?
Not for this session.
So you better stay for the next one. Right, maybe we will draw on Salman's session.
Oh well. Best of luck, Salman.
Thank you.
So thank you, Omar.